Welcome to JR, everyone. We're here with Mazda's new generation, the new dawn of their entire car lineup. It's a completely new chassis, rear-wheel drive first architecture, all-wheel drive as standard for all CX90s though. Excellent, you'll have to see it. Also, first plug-in hybrid. You can get it in two flavors here. You can get the straight six, which is very BMW, we'll talk about that later. Or you can get the plug-in hybrid, which we have here. And this is pretty nice. So what you've got here is Mazda's 2.5 litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. It's good for about 56 mpg with the hybrid system engaged. I've been getting about 29 mpg, 29 closer to 30 when I've not really charged it up at all. But if you do charge it all the way up, you can expect about 27 true miles of fully electric range in here, which is proper good for something of this size, I'd say. It's relatively quick, about 323 horsepower, 369 pounds-foot of torque, same number in torque for the inline six with the big power tune. So this is proper good, I like it, and we'll talk about it more behind the wheel.
And another thing that we like, and this is pretty Mazda-like, is just the connection that you feel with the car. The handling, the suspension, the way it drives, the way it corners, it's just really, really nice and put together, and you kind of really do just feel really connected to the road. It is a stiffer ride than some of the competitors. And the third thing that we like is just the interior build and the usability in here. You can see there's a lot of different materials and textures going on here. We have the black with the kind of like a bronze accent in the stitching and in the seating. It is really nice in here. I would say that it does do a good job competing with some of the more luxury brands like Acura or BMW. A little bit nicer tier, I think, than like a Hyundai Palisade or the Kia Telluride. You have a fully digital dash here, and you also have a center console 12 inches right here. It is still rotary dial, but you can do touch. It is touch if you are in Apple CarPlay. Touch is a weird word to say.
Talking is hard. I hope we keep this all in. No, let's keep going. Power through, mate. Power through.
Okay, wait.
Stop laughing. You're turning red. You're looking like Elmo.
Do I actually? Because this happens in meetings.
No.
This is how I feel. So then I am turning red.
No, you're not.
Oh, okay. Touch screen. Why was that such a difficult thing?
F150 Trevor.
Also have a lot of functioning buttons down here. So I kind of like that it's not all integrated into the actual software of the center console touchscreen. You have buttons for your heated seat, your heated steering wheel, cooled seats. One annoying thing though is both these buttons are down. Even though technically you're bringing the temperature up, you have to click it down to go up, which is kind of counterintuitive. But the main point here is really good build quality and interior. I would personally get this in tan, or white looks incredible. I think black doesn't really do it as justice as those other two colors.
White. And the fourth and final thing that we like is just classic. It's handsome, it's Mazda, it's Kodo, it's all the things that you expect, and it's stunning to look at. I will say, I love this paint. This is artesian red. I think it's artisan red metallic, but it is brilliant. It's kind of like a burgundy, and then depending if you've got the polarized sunglasses on or whatever, it looks black, it looks, you know, sharper red, whatever. And then of course, since it is Mazda and it is luxury, you've got chrome bits everywhere. You can see the running light comes into the chrome grille. You've got the surrounds here. You've got the chrome front splitter here. Come here, mate. Come here. Is that chrome? No, brushed aluminium. But first ever 21-inch wheel on a Mazda, right? Chrome plastic, but of course. PHEV here can say inline six or says straight six, one of the two, doesn't matter. And then of course you've got chrome here at the top of your window treatments, but not at the bottom. Hey? Chrome up here for your roof rails. Chrome down here. This is one of my favorite bits, right? So it's got Mazda etched in right here. It's kind of embossed. Very classy. And then round back, it's pretty subtle. You've got some in your lower diffuser. No exhaust outlets at all. Not even for the inline six, the mad sporty one. Then of course, chrome for your E-Sky Active PHEV. Mazda logo. CX90 all-wheel drive. Lots of chrome bits, excellent paint, pretty good looking SUV, I'd say. All right, we're gonna pin it a little bit. Okay, so power's not the problem here. The thing that I run into that I've got a little bit of a problem with is the transmission. It's a new 8-speed, and again, it's kind of where Mazda's showing their their foray into a completely new generation of vehicle. It's just a little bit, it needs to be sussed out, it needs to be finessed. It's not quite as smooth. The way it hands power from the gas engine and the electric. I mean, I know that the electric and hybrid stuff is kind of sandwiched in between the engine and the transmission. So even in EV mode, it's not like a normal EV where it's just one single gear and you just go. You still have shifts with EV power. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, and then it also makes a bunch of noises. It's just kind of clunky, and it just feels like it could be a little bit more smoothed out. It needs to take some sandpaper and just smooth out some of the rough edges here with the transmission. But again, it's the first year of a completely new chassis, so you kind of forgive a little bit of that, but it is something that you will notice behind the wheel.
And the second thing that we... God damn it.
I'm not going to make the face, sorry.
And the second thing that we don't like is just the usability and space back here and the practicality of the third row, or lack of practicality. There is absolutely no legroom in here. I think it's kind of an injustice to actually call this thing a third row, because I genuinely think the only people that are going to fit back here are little kids. And there's several reasons for that. One, you have to squeeze by this little bit, which is maybe 4 or 5 inches, because you have these 2 captain chairs here in the second row. So that's going to make it extremely difficult to get back here. You have absolutely no usable foot room right here. Like I don't even think I could put both feet in here, actually. You also have this little bit right here, which goes up, and that's kind of like in the middle of the walkway, or where someone might potentially put a foot. So I can just see that being a problem as well. And then another weird quirky thing is just like these vents, usually they're in the roof, but here they're on the side, kind of in a weird spot. So like I feel like you don't really get that good of airflow back here. I do have good headroom though, so maybe that is a reason why they didn't actually include it back here, is just to kind of free up some of the headroom. But compared to the competitors, this is less third row room than some of the other 3-row SUVs out there.
Another thing that's a little bit lacking here is kind of your driver assistance suite. Now you've got adaptive cruise, which is proper good. You've got blind spot monitoring, which is great. And you do have lane keep assist. If you're kind of drifting over here, it will nudge you gently back into your lane. But if you go over there with any more gusto, it is going to let you put yourself in a ditch. So you just have to be a little bit more prepared. And the other thing is it is missing the lane centering or the lane tracing or whatever it is that they want to call it. That thing where you put it on the highway and it will drive for you for a couple seconds at a time. Yeah, you have to put your hands on the wheel or whatever, but it is just missing that, and that's been a staple of the Mazda safety suite for a number of years now. It just doesn't have it, and it's kind of annoying, especially at this price point. This is more expensive than a lot of the competitors, and it's missing a pretty key driver assistance package item. And the next thing is some of the actual safety suite stuff is a little bit nervous, it's a little bit hyperactive, namely the front and rear cross traffic alert. Now it's just anytime I'm approaching an intersection, anytime I'm about to pull away from an intersection and somebody's like just kind of finishing going past, it's going to ding at me. And that's going to make me kind of second guess what I'm doing, take another look, then I'm all of a sudden not looking where I'm going. It's a little bit distracting. Now you can adjust this in the system here, and you can make it to, kind of a late warning. So maybe that would help a little bit, but it does seem a little bit more hyperactive than I think I'd really appreciate from the car. So just something to be aware of. It does ding and chime at you quite a bit.
So kind of going to do a combo here on the fourth and fifth thing. So the fourth thing is that just kind of the usability and area that all this center console takes up. It is massively wide, and I think all of this is a lot smaller in the CX-5. I don't understand why it had to be this big, especially considering how much room you actually get here in your center console. Absolutely nothing. This is extremely tiny. And this gear selector is kind of an oddball thing. I feel like they could have done buttons, or they could have made something more traditional, but like I just think this is kind of, maybe that's being nitpicky. And then the fifth thing is that to get the 360 cameras, the lowest level trim that it's available on is the Premium Plus, which is actually one of their highest trim levels. So if that's something if that's a feature that's really important to you and critical to you, you will definitely find that on a competitor's lower end model than you would here for a cheaper price, just so you're aware.
Mazda CX90. Here we are. Boost right there on the dash. Unleashing all 323 horsepower and 369 pounds-foot of torque, despite the fact that we've got completely no battery here and no electric range, but we still have some stored left in the battery, so it is still filling in. We've still got power. It's just not going to be able to be in an EV mode, but that's fine. We'll kind of talk about what it's like to drive here, just generally speaking, and then kind of our philosophical thoughts on the vehicle. Personally, this drives about as Mazda as I would be expecting. The ride is a little bit stiffer. The steering has a nice heft to it, some decent feel. This is pretty big and heavy, so you're not feeling a whole lot. It is boosted, but it does have a nice substantial feel in your hands. The visibility is good, the power's decent, and yeah, I think it's all right. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a huge step forward. I mean, this is kind of weird, right? Because they say it's not replacing the CX9, but like it kind of is. I think it's a huge step forward in terms of just like they redesigned the whole chassis architecture, new 8-speed, new inline 6. So I mean, like they're doing some interesting things here, and they're the first, I guess, big competitor to bring the plug-in hybrid option to the 3-row SUV.
Right, Honda's not got one, Toyota's not got one. Neither of the Koreans have one. Yeah,
Hyundai,
it's the only way to get plug-in hybrid. If you go down in size, there's a bunch. Hyundai's got one, Kia, Toyota, but not here in the 3-row.
So, and like you mentioned, I really like the suspension and handling of this. I think Mazda really praises themselves on trying to have this driver-car connection, and I think you do really feel that behind the wheel, which is appreciated, even though some people buying this car might not necessarily want that. It is a stiffer ride compared to some of its competitors.
Yeah, like a Telluride. It's
right.
gonna ride a lot softer.
Yep, but I mean, I do think though, if I had to sum up my thoughts, is that I think we can both agree that like I really did want to like this thing, but I think there are several other vehicles I would purchase before this.
If you really need the 3rd row,
yeah,
I think so.
Because the space back there is just really non-existent.
Yeah, and the 3rd row is very small. The trunk even is kind of small. And
just the whole clunkiness, I think, of the first year transmission, engine, switching between powers. The power is also kind of what deters me a bit. But you know, the good things that this has going forward is that it is kind of revolutionary, and 29 mpg, 29.5 is actually incredible.
Yeah, and I've only charged it up once the whole week we've had it.
Right, so imagine if we actually had been charging it up every single night, you'd be getting closer to the like 56 or whatever. Yeah. So,
and you know, you got charge target here, so it will recharge itself as you drive, which is pretty cool. So if you don't have access to a plug, you can still, you know, run on EV after it's charged itself. But yeah, I think my overall and ultimate thoughts are it's positive in the way that Mazdas typically are positive, and that's, you know, the driving feel and sensation behind the wheel is pretty good, the interior is excellent, it looks the business, and then on the other side of the coin, it's got deficiencies in the place that Mazda always has deficiencies. It's small, it makes compromises in terms of cargo, the tech is like 80% there, but just kind of missing a couple things there. I do like the wireless CarPlay, but yeah, I think overall, if you don't really need the 3rd row, and it's just like kind of nice to have every now and then, maybe your kid has a mate that wants to go to soccer practice or whatever, then I think it's okay. But if you're actually going to use the 3rd row a bunch, look elsewhere, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall fairly positive with a couple little niggles.
Agreed.
Absolutely. All right, cheers.